Well, Jim, it's wonderful to meet you. Thank you for taking a minute after the show today. I appreciate it.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm ready.
So let's begin our journey with this question. I always start with this. 6 years ago, the pandemic was changing everything. How did you get through that era, and how has it changed the way that you approach life and work today?
So, as a professional speaker, we go in front of people. We travel. We try to impact people face to face. And, in that era, it was challenging because, I work for a guy, his name's Jon Gordon. He's written 31 books, right? He's out there as well. He's a big time speaker, and we got together and we're like, we're not sure when this is coming back. We're not sure when speaking's coming back. If it'll, you have that fear that is this ever going to come back? Because places and companies may realize, well, maybe we shave that off 1 year. Maybe we'll just keep shaving it off, right? So there was a lot of uncertainty then. So we basically put our noses to the ground and did a lot of free work online. We pivoted and said, you know what, we're going to just give this away, right? People need it the most now. And, him and I did a lot of free Zoom sessions for, I deal with education clients a lot. So I shifted over to how to navigate online learning and tried not to fluff people up with just, hey, here, just be positive and get through this, but really try to create some good conversations with folks online, these teachers that were going through this. And it worked out well. We rebounded nicely. We kept a nice connection with our audience by just giving it away right online and just saying it's going to be about message first. And then we pivoted with the program that we built together for schools. We really pivoted and made that just much more accessible for schools, much more online content as well to help. So we rode the wave of change, and I'm proud of that era. I even had a few gigs that were in person in August of 2020 in guess where, Texas, and my home state of Florida, and that was those were good experiences because it just you could tell that people were starving for give me something that can help me with my mental state. So it was good to really throw out the playbook and say I'm going to write something just for these couple audiences that I had. So it was humbling, but I'm glad we're through it.
Yeah, and I think that was the hardest part of all of it was that social chasm, especially for kids, to not be able to have that intermingling. And as you know, it being in the education realm, that's probably, I think that's probably one of the biggest problems of that era was the kids just they needed to socialize, they needed to be out in the world.
And I don't know if you'll believe this, but now, 6 years later, okay, just about 6 years, right? I have principal calls all the time where I'm talking to them about what's going on in their schools and trying to work with them and partner with them. I still have people to this day, last month, right, telling me we're just coming out of this from COVID, or we just restarted this from COVID, or our fifth graders, I noticed they'll say are really squirrely and have a hard time with this because they were the ones that were in VPK or early childhood kindergarten, and it just kind of dominoed. They never quite caught up in certain states, certain regions. So even 6 years later, and
Yeah.
listen, whether it's a crutch or not, I don't, there may be a little bit of that. But schools never it doesn't really matter. They're still attributing some issues they're having with student behavior and process to that COVID gap 6 years ago. So it had far lingering consequences in education, especially than we could have ever imagined.
Yeah, for sure. So, as the driver of the energy bus, I want to get to the heart and soul of what you do on a daily basis. I'm going to put you in front of 13-year-olds. It's career day. One of the kids wants to know what you do for a living. How do you synthesize and explain it?
So I've done career day for 13-year-olds so a couple weeks ago. So I'm good at this. Listen, what I tell them is my career is to help bring people from thought to action. Meaning when I'm going up in front of people and I'm talking about the energy bus or positive behaviors or positive thinking or mindset, I always say, hey, point to your minds. How can we have better relationships with people? How can we be stronger inside? I always say, I like to tell stories, but I also want anybody listening to me to then take my strategies and my stories and use them in their life for a good change. Because I believe a speaker's job is to move people from thought to action. We don't want to just be labeled a motivational speaker. We don't like, I hate that term, right? And I've gone away from that. I'm a facilitator. I'm a thought provoker. I'm moving you to action. So I tell kids that all the time, right? If you enjoy public speaking, if you enjoy really seeing people change their life or their thinking or then their schools based on what you said, you've inspired them to take action. I said, that's what I hope to do. And then I model it for them and I'll be like, hey, now let's do an activity that shows this and have you walk out of here with something you can do in your life, which is what I do for audiences. I'll actually say, hey, listen, let's take the material from the book. Let's understand it, but then let's put a plan in place for your school to actually use it to change some of the processes that you're doing. So that's the way I kind of look at it, and that really motivates me to be like, listen, every message you give, there must be substance there. You don't want to just have style; it's got to have the substance as well.
So when you were a kid at that point in your life, thinking about what you wanted to do for a living, what was your dream gig?
This, so
Okay.
and I can, so at 16 years old, I have it. It's buried somewhere, but I do have it. I bring it up in front of my student assemblies. I do a lot of times. I had a thing I made in English lit or English class. It was like a time capsule project, and you were supposed to write about what you were going to do in your life. The top part, I put, I'm going to be a traveling speaker impacting audiences all over the country, and I cut out a picture of a guy speaking. And then the bottom part was I will be a professor at a major university teaching. And I am a professor. I teach online primarily now, last 10 years. And before that, I was on campus. So I do both. And I called my shot like Babe Ruth, right? When I was 16. So I always knew I wanted to be a speaker. And what's funny is my son now, who's 11, tonight in 6 hours, we're going to go to our school's talent show, elementary school, and he is the host of the talent show. He's the MC. So, and I was doing stuff like that as a kid, where the school was like, hey, will you be the spokesperson here? Will you be the mayor when we go to our little, business village? So I was already doing, and how he's doing it too. And it gave me this love and passion to just be up there and have fun and talk to people. So I'm like, hey, what can I do with this? And, I would go to these conferences, these large, youth conferences and see the keynote speaker on stage and be like, that's it. That's what I want to do. And
Yeah.
it really, and I think my son, at least one of them, probably my older one who's being the MC, will probably end up in this role at some point. And it's just funny to see. So yeah, it's
Yeah.
been a long, long time. Mhm.
Well, when you have kids, sometimes the apple doesn't fall too far. It's like there's the nature, there's the nurture, and you got to wonder which part of that, sways the hardest, you know?
Well, exactly. And you kind of see it definitely is a little bit of both with their friends and what we kind of surround them with. But then it's not like I've given him public speaking one-on-one
Yeah.
training hardcore all the time. We talk about things and he sees me, but a lot of it is innate. If you're a professional athlete, a lot of those skills you have, of course, you're working extremely hard, but you also have a tendency towards, some genetic stuff that's helping you get over the hump a little bit. And it's funny to see that for sure. Mhm.
So, where are you from Florida originally?
Originally from so Palm Harbor, which is near Tampa, Florida, originally. Yes.
So, take me back to your childhood early on. What were these essential seeds that were planted into you that made you want to speak and teach and lead and do what you're doing today?
Yeah, it's interesting. I mean, so that's what I was kind of getting at. I was always so I think you have to go you go to personality. When I'm 40 now. So when I look back at like personality and you start studying people and famous people and what they've done, a lot of the big time comedians like Michael Richards who played Kramer or Robin Williams obviously among others, they are introverts by nature. So when they get in front of a crowd or a camera or in front of people, right? They become somebody else. It's almost like they're playing a characterized version of themselves. Like they kind of come alive. And I feel like, I was like that a lot. Introverts by nature, we're not antisocial. We just enjoy more small group kind of style social interaction. But if you put some of us on stage or up front, all of a sudden it's like, wow, where did that come from? So I would do that a lot as a child. I feel like I had a lot of close friends, but I always ended up being the group spokesperson in class, right? Or we would do these long-winded class projects. I remember specifically in eighth grade, we had to do a project on Australia, and the teacher made us present for like 45 minutes. It was a challenge, right? Hey, you're gonna have to fill the whole class period. And I got up there and I had full costume. I had an accent, which was horrible. I had the flag. I interacted with the crowd, with my classmates. I made it fun and engaging like I do now. And a lot of that just was innate. I was just like, I'm gonna have fun with this. I'm gonna have and then in high school I would go through these competitive events in public speaking through an organization I was part of, and I was winning with very little effort. And that's not good news for people listening. But when you're 15, you're writing your speech the night before, but I was just able to deliver it really, really well. And thank goodness I had a mom that helped me write it. Things like that just kind of added up, and for those inner skills that we have. But once again, it goes back to personality. Some of us just come alive more when we have that microphone in our hand.
Yeah,
So.
for sure. So the one thing that can galvanize a wonderful school experience for anybody is having that one teacher, that one person at some point. Who was that for you, whether early on or at some point in your educational career, that made you love school, that made this your life, education?
Oh, and I still keep in touch with her, and I wrote about her in the Energy Bus for Schools book that I wrote with Jon Gordon because she had such an impact on my life. She was my middle school enrichment teacher, gifted teacher, and her name is Susan Englert. She lives back home, and her classes were extremely unique. So very, very much it was pretty much all project-based learning. And nowadays, project-based learning is starting to become much, much more popular, where it's less lecture, right? And more, let's have you figure this out collaboratively, talking with each other, creating something, presenting something, a lot of public speaking, a lot of problem solving. You have to deal with not only the issue we have to solve, but people around you. And everything we did was project-based learning, whether we were learning about Egypt, or whether we were learning about history, or whether we were learning about books. We were doing books. Everything was that way. And she would have us up in front of the class a lot, presenting, right? And that was such a fun time because it didn't feel like school. Like we became friends in the class because you were constantly interacting with each other. We all had to get up in front of the class, so you would support each other being up there because you knew you were next, right? And now that I am now writing and developing workshops for audiences around the country, my writing workshop style is exactly the project-based learning style. If I have teachers in a room for 4 hours, do you think I'm talking at them for 4 hours? No, no, no. They're up and moving and talking and interacting pretty much the entire time. And and I had that love from when I was in Mrs. Englert's class, and she's since retired. But it was such a big moment, a big 3 years for me, and I still have a best friend from that era as well. And I wanted to give her a shout out in the book to show teachers, hey, this is somebody who really gets it as an educator, built relationships with students, went beyond just a traditional textbook, really had her pedagogy be this open book of creativity, which works well for the gifted and rich mind, like the child who needs that. We needed to be able to kind of expand our horizons a little bit, and it definitely helped for sure. And I'm grateful for that opportunity. Mhm.
So, as an author, what was the first book that you read that hooked you into reading, made you love the word?
Are we going back in time, like when I was a child,
Yeah,
or?
like the first thing that really made you enjoy a book.
I read a lot of the Boxcar Children growing up, believe it or not. I don't know if anybody is familiar with that at all. Old book series, but I probably read 80 of them, right? And I remember reading, and I just loved the the storyline and the adventure of it. And then I kind of transitioned out of like those kind of childhood kind of series books. And even at like fourth grade, I was starting to read like John Grisham. I was starting to read Michael Crichton, all of Crichton's books, and because of the movies that went along with them. And then I switched over pretty quickly to like not historical fiction, but I love reading like Revolutionary War and World War II books, and I would always have one on my desk even in middle school, like the D-Day invasion. So because I think I love just learning about history and applying it to the real world. So I always had a book in my hand, and it definitely reading helps you so much. It helps you be a better writer, speaker, helps your mind to have imagination. So definitely was a big reader and try to still be now with three children and being tired at night. It's hard,
Yeah.
but I try. If my wife's going to bed, she's like, "I'm gonna go read for a little bit." I try to say, "I'm gonna come too," and I'll open up my book and read along with her. So, and I always try to keep a list of books that I want to read moving forward as well. So.
Right on. So, in the realm of speaking, what's the best speech you've ever witnessed in your life?
Are we talking like of all time, historic, or
Just
just
what you in the crowd, you saw this human do something that was spectacular. Do you who was that?
I I saw so this I talked to a gentleman when I was in high school. I'm just going with first thing that comes to mind here. When I was at a youth conference, there was a an inspirational speaker who got up, Kerry Travanovich. So I remember his name, and that's good. He did, and I always loved it. And I think it really, and I got to talk to him afterwards and learn about professional speaking. He would tell stories, but then he would also work in pantomime into the performances.
Yeah.
And with music and like effects and lighting and it was all and watching it, and I got to see him twice, was just I finally saw somebody who was willing to go beyond just talking, right? And you could be an amazing speaker, and I do that. Sometimes we just need to talk for an hour, do a keynote, but he went beyond that and added in acting and character acting and music and kind of made it into like an entertaining show that went along with the message. And I remember just seeing that and being like, okay, wow, you can color outside the lines as a speaker. And so that was one of the first inspirational speakers I saw who did that. And I got to talk to him, and that really stuck with me, his style. And I try to do that now. Like I try to have I bring props, I bring people on stage, I try to jump into the crowd. I try to be very, a character up there to an extent without going overboard. And I think I got a lot of that from watching Carrie and others speak. And then you watch other great speakers, and you understand the power of storytelling, and you know that that is your anchor, and the entertainment factor is just icing on the cake. So once I've kind of learned to master the two of those, then I think I became a very effective, confident speaker, and impactful. People will remember you because they're engaged, right? Because of the entertainment factor, and then the storytelling sticks with them because we're naturally built to like and enjoy stories.
The interesting thing about what you do is that on the outside, it's like watching a baseball team play well. It looks really seamless and easy, but it's hard. There's a lot of things that go on the back end of it. And with what you're doing, you're in a world of education that's always evolving. I mean, not even with just AI, but with every other force of living on this planet, things change and evolve, and you have to stay on top of it. But you have to have high energy. You have to entertain. You have to have this curricula, so to speak, when you get on stage. What is that every day for you to get up and to do this work, to change, transform lives, take care of your soul and your life as well? What is that collective energy when the alarm clock goes off?
I know that the messages that I'm helping people to understand and put into practice, I know that they work because I've had people come to me and say, this was the best I've ever had, or I needed this today, or message me after. And because I always try to stay in touch with people, and they say, This was really impactful for me. I was going through this, then I heard you mention this and that. So I get that a lot. And to me, that, especially students, to me, that's the fuel, right? I mean, as a speaker, it's not about me, not about me at all. It's about what I have to, it's about how you take the message that I have to say. That's all I care about is the audience and the people and the message. I have, I have some foundational stories and things that I'll do on stage or with people, but I really have never given the same exact presentation twice, if you can believe that. Okay, I always change things up. That's a lot of work for me, but I'm a believer in making it as relevant as possible to the audience. So I feel like during my busy season, which is like July, August, September, back to school, there's a lot of teacher workshops, there's a lot of student assemblies, and I have a lot of events that are back to back to back to back to back. I mean, certain weeks I'll be on 9, 10 airplanes a week. We're talking about a week. That's exhausting. But honestly, it's one of those moments where you're like, you know, you can't have an off day with any audience, right? Especially teachers. Like they need you up there. They need you. If I'm talking about the energy bus or, positive living and healthy mindsets and great relationships, I have to model that myself. So I think I take care of myself by kind of shutting it down in between and kind of taking that mental inner break and try not to be too social. So when I get on stage the next day, I can bring that energy and be confident in the material that I know really, really works and create those conversations. So as an introvert, so heavy socialization in a row is exhausting at times, but you can take care of yourself in the middle, in between. And now that I'm a coffee drinker, that's revolutionary. So I
Yeah,
can get up pretty quickly and get to the mental state that I need to be. So.
I love it.
And it's not year round. During after September, October, then it's intermittent throughout the year because school's in session. Then I can kind of recharge then and kind of zoom focus those 3, 4 months for sure. Mhm.
So you have the heart of a true jazz musician. If everything's different every single time, you're definitely doing improv, scripted improv, but it's different.
Yep.
So let me ask you this. If you had a dream tonight and you ran into that 16-year-old version of you that just laid all that ink down on the paper saying what you wanted your life to be, and you walked up and you tapped the shoulder and said, look up there, and there was a projector and it showed a 60-second highlight reel of the life that you've lived. Would that young version of you have believed that it all turned out this way?
I want to say yes because I know that 16-year-old. He's not that far removed from me, believe it or not. I haven't, you know, I my wife's like, you really haven't changed a lot. And I took that as a compliment. She's like, you still like some of the same stuff and you seem still look the same. Like, so I know that kid was really driven. I know he was. I know, getting into the college I wanted to get into and getting certain officer positions and working hard in school. I was really always, I had a lot of self-discipline when I was younger. That was just innate, and I lived a pretty decently righteous life, and really, that speaking thing. Even in high school, I was recognized for it. Like my peers, they knew me as that, and kind of got gained an identity from it. So I think he would look at that and give me a fist bump and be like, I cannot wait to go on that journey, right? I can't wait. Like, I'm so happy that I planted this seed for you later on to be able to kind of continue that. So I don't think he'd be surprised at all. I think he'd be humbled by it in a good way, and it would help him to be even more focused on keeping that track ahead. So.
So let's say you walked in. I mean, you speak all the time to audiences, but let's say you walked into a room of everybody that's known you in a more business sense throughout your career, and you walk to the podium and you need to tell them one fun story about you, the first concert you went to, a seminal sporting experience, a wonderful place you traveled to, something that happened in your life that's fun that would shed a little bit more humanity or personality on who you are. What would be a fun story that you would tell that room of people?
Oh, that's a great question here. So that's quite an array of stuff to talk with. So it could be anything that would really just stick with them
Yeah,
and
just something that would
just
be
get some
emblematic
personality.
of you and your life. Yeah.
I would probably go with, I would talk about when at 20 years old, I was put in charge of the guy I work for now, right? 20 years ago, I was put in charge of his 30 city book tour as a 20-year-old intern,
Wow. Wow.
and who was a public relations major and, had just met Jon Gordon. He was kind of an up and coming speaker, and we kind of partnered together. He's like, "Hey, you want to be my intern, right?" And he knew I wanted to be a speaker, and I shared that with him. But very little experience. He's like, "Oh, you're a PR major. You should be able to figure out how to get people to the events." He had a sponsor to take him to all these cities. He would drive to each one, but very little sponsorship money, but just enough. And it was just me and him basically. And this is pre-social media. We're talking about 2007. So, but I learned so much from that experience. I got to join him on the road and introduce him at each stop, most of the stops, and drive him around a little bit and understand how to market pre-social media and get up in front of people and talk. And at 20, it was a definite turning point for me to be like, this is it. Like I got to have that taste of being on the road and as a speaker and travel with him and plan for him. That it was, at that point in your life, you're like, okay, like, is this speaking thing even real? Like, there's no major for this. Like, there's no corporate track to get into this. You're kind of self-made a little bit. So I had some of the naysayers being like, what is this dream? But then when Jon and I connected, we had an instant connection, and he gave me an opportunity. And 20 years later, I'm running his entire education division. And
Yeah.
it started from earning his trust in 2006 and 7 with launching his book, and then going on and writing the sequel to that book years later. So that speaking tour that I helped to plan was pretty remarkable in my life. And I don't think I knew what I was getting myself into at the time, but I tell every audience I talk to, the answer is always yes. Somebody asks you to do something like that, yes, I'll,
Yes.
I'll, I'll figure it out. Yeah, no problem, right? I'll figure it out. And this is pre-chat GPT. This is '07.
Yeah.
We barely had Google,
Totally.
and it made it wasn't easy. We had 3 people in some cities. We had 4 in others. But in the end, it planted some seeds for the book to do very well years later.
So a funny little story about the word yes. That's the reason why John Lennon fell in love with Yoko Ono. She was an artist and she had an exhibit. And I believe it was in either San Francisco, it could have been in Liverpool. I can't remember, but it was in a big museum. And you walked into a room and there was a ladder and there was a magnifying glass that was hanging down off a string. And you climbed the ladder and you took the magnifying glass and there was the word yes in the middle of the painting that was really small. And when you went in and came out, it said yes. And that was it. That's how it all happened right there with the word yes.
Interesting. The word yes, it's revolutionary, right?
Yes, it is. So let me ask you this. Of everything that you've done, overcome, evolved to, what are you the proudest of? The happiest about?
Are we talking career-wise, personal-wise?
Well, I know it has to be family and kids, but
Beyond
probably
that?
beyond that.
Beyond that. Okay. You just want to make sure. Yeah, that's always the layup answer. I I am most proud of I think just being faithful to the craft. And what that means is always working hard to make this dream a reality. Nothing was given to me, right? So, maybe the door was shown. I have a great relationship with Jon Gordon, who's uber successful now, but why would he keep recommending me, right, to all these schools and helping to provide me leads and putting me in charge of the Energy Bus for Schools program if I wasn't capable of carrying that burden and going in front of people and representing his name and his brand and it wouldn't happen. I know him, he's a very high accountability for people that he works with. So I carry that with me everywhere that I go and have the last 16 years I've been on the road, speaking, right? So I'm proud of that fact that I've had really earned this opportunity, and I look at it as I try to have a think like a rookie mentality. Like I try to earn it every year, every speech, because it only takes one person to be like, oh, emailing in, oh, Jim phoned that one in. That really wasn't good. I never had that because I'm not going to do that, right? I treat every opportunity, whether I'm getting paid very little or very much, I treat it all the same, whether it's a free gig or for my local church here, and I treat it all the same. Same amount of prep work, same amount of intensity and effort, follow up. And I'm proud of that fact that I really haven't let my foot off the gas. And I still have not, right? And I'm still trying to create opportunities and leads and stuff like that. Because once again, I know this, I know it works. I know I can have an impact. I just need people to let me in, right?
Yeah. So let me ask you this. Everyone has a perception of you, family, friends, clients, everyone that sees you speak, get your books, but you run the show. What's your perception of you? Who do you think you are?
I am a very people will so what I think I am is very passionate and very loyal. I get that word loyal a lot, and and I like that. I like that a lot. I think it shows that I'm going to have your back. I'm going to support you. I'm going to be your champion, and I like serving. I like serving others in many different ways, and that's my perception as well. What else can I do? How can I help you? What can I do for you? You know, and I think that's what we're supposed to be. I think we have more people have that mentality. It'd be a great place. So I like to say that, and I think my passion helps me to be a great speaker. I think my loyalty helps me to bend over backwards for my clients and my schools, and the teachers and the audience and the students. You know, that's my tribe. It's my people that I work with all the time, and I want to be loyal to them and give them a better life. You know, if they have a better mindset, they can have a better life. So that and then the serving, that makes me, like I said, never really given the same thing twice. So I want to serve each audience by saying you're going to get something unique to you and to what you're going through. So those are three things I think that definitely are the perception I have for myself.
So if anybody's ready to hop on the energy bus, books, speaking, all the good business, where do they go?
Energybusforschools.com, FOR schools plural.com. That's a great starting point. And the Energy Bus for Schools book is there. We have the podcast that I do for educators. And then I'm having my own site revamped now. It'll be ready in about a month or so. But Jim Van Allan, Allan, JimVanAllen.com. It's up, but it'll be revamped soon. But energybusforschools.com is a great place, and social media is on there as well. So we'd love to interact.
Cool. I will put all these links in the show notes. What a joy. Jim, thank you, sir. Thank you for taking a minute out. Best of luck with everything. I appreciate it.
Thank you very much. Good to be with you. Great conversation.
Thank you.